Welcome to Next Time podcast. My name is Sundar. I lead the forensic services at Next Time. This podcast is part of Global Anti-Corruption series. Our podcast is an endeavor to bring up emerging topics of relevance for executives across the spectrum of services we offer. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Across the geographies, regulatory environments are changing, business practices are changing, and behaviors are changing with COVID. Anti-corruption in the current times is bringing newer dimensions with issues around supply chain, healthcare, and other reporting requirements. This also extends to regulatory interventions and the whole new virtual world. In this podcast series, we will be interviewing specialists across regions to gather specific insights on anti-corruption in current times. The region that we would get covered today is France. Today we have with us Stéphane Bonifacy. He's the founder of Bonifacy Advocates. This is a Paris-based firm which represents clients on fraud, embezzlement, misuse of company assets, corruption, and money laundering. Stephen specializes in business crime and fraud, economic sanctions, corruption, and asset recovery. He is very well involved in internal investigations. He regularly represents individuals and companies on corruption matters across jurisdictions. We are also joined by Victor Chaplin, Stephen's colleague, to share insights regarding anti-corruption in the France region. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Sundar.
Perfect. So, Stephen, this is what I wanted to start with. In the past 60 days, we've had significant changes in the way the markets have evolved. There are some portions of the country which have gone into lockdown. Some portions have been much relaxed. There is constant interface of remote working and also a lot of regulatory push in this whole circumstance. How do you perceive corruption risks in this kind of environment?
Victoire, go for it.
I don't think that in France we perceive the risk of corruption in the current environment as very high. But it's actually the fact that the situation is brand new, it's never occurred, it's worldwide, which makes everything difficult. Of course, surveillance has become increasingly difficult due to the fact that people are working remotely everywhere in the world. But the greater impact and the difficulty is linked to the urgency of the situation. People have needed to work faster and quicker in order to adapt themselves to the situation. And therefore, fraudulent proposals are, I would say, more easier to be offered. Things have needed to move quickly. The government, the public, and the private sector have needed to adapt in an unexpected manner. The situation was very new for everyone. There's no common grounds, no common rule, and the visibility is very, very reduced. And in this context, the government has needed to invest money in the public and in the private sector. There's been great pressure, worldwide, but also obviously in France, from the public society, but also from the companies, the private sector. The government has invested money in the medical industry. There was issues with supplies that were lacking. There's been rumors that were ongoing about the US government who would have stole masks as they were being uploaded on a plane for France. Issues with the retail industries who could have had masks where the hospitals were still lacking. The risk of corruption was undeniably present. The stress also increases the risk linked to corruption. But it wasn't a risk that we would evaluate as very high, generally speaking, in the context of everything that was ongoing.
I can really understand that, and that's understandable in the given circumstances. While the general perception of corruption risk may be low, in the current context, there is a lot of things changing, and it may have an impact and a different perception of how corruption risks are seen in the country. I just want to extend this further to see what are the specific risks that has come in the context of anti-corruption caused by COVID in France.
I think that we have to look at two main risks. The one has to do with public tenders. Needs were urgent. There has been somewhat of a relaxing of the tender processes, and I think that questions may be raised as to the way government supplies were handled. So I think that there is something that we have to closely look at. Companies have to be very cautious when they respond to government tenders, and the way that maybe the situation being flexible may give rise to issues there. So that's something to be careful at, and to look at very, very closely. The second point I would like to make is the subsidies that the government is going to give to companies, and how is that process going to be handled fairly and equitably. And in that, there again, new environment, flexible environment, how is that going to be handled, and are some companies going to try to take advantage or not? That's something to look at as well.
That was a very helpful response that you had given. Of course, at this point in time, both the stimulus packages and the challenges associated with relaxation of procurement guidelines has been a very critical point. I just want to extend it further, Stephen, to understand, do you see that there is an increase in government touch points at this point in time? So typically, many geographies will have a certain level of government touch points. So companies which had only tax-related government touch point now interface with government on healthcare reporting matters and other matters. How do you see this impacting the organization and anti-corruption?
The fact that companies have been needed to get in touch on different grounds with the government is also linked to the fact that authorities have been more inclined to issue controls and to investigate. With regard to anti-corruption, the French agency has actually issued a public statement during the lockdown saying that both regulators and economic actors are called upon to seriously and expeditiously consider integrating qualified instrument of corruption prevention in their decision-making processes and operations. The message is quite clear that they're sending is the fact that during this lockdown period, they were not launching investigations, or at least not publicly, and they were not operating on the grounds because it was impossible. But at the same time, they never stopped what they were doing, and therefore they still worked independently on their investigations, on the facts that they were being sent, on the reports that they already had, or on the reports that people were currently sending to them. And therefore, they have increased the level of control. It's going at some point to happen, and the investigations are going to be launched, and companies need to be quite ready for investigations to start. And therefore, they need to cooperate, and they need to be constantly thinking of how the government is going to interfere in the way they conduct their business. Even though during the lockdown and during this time, authorities have made rules more flexible, mostly in terms of delays, no matter what the topic was. But nonetheless, the situation is always the same. Companies remain responsible of their employees. They must comply with the rules, no matter what the rules are. And they need to protect not only the market, but also their own responsibility and the responsibility of their employees, their clients, and their partners.
The Anti-Corruption Agency is a government touch point when it comes to corruption issues, but it's a difficult touch point, because it's also a regulator. It's also an agency that has the power to go into your premises and check your compliance programs. So it may be that, rather than going to the agency, you may want to go to ministries that have jurisdiction over your specific trade. But it's true that the government touchpoint is this agency, but a difficult player.
Absolutely. I think the perspective that you gave was such a sharp perspective in this current context, with the regulator coming up front and then saying that we are continuing our investigation while we're not starting anything during the COVID lockdown season, but we are continuing the existing investigations and we will go ahead with enforcement actions. That's a very bold point of view. And with that context, are you seeing with SAPN and with the kind of regulations, with the kind of stand that the regulators are taking, are you seeing more enforcements to come through during this particular season? Is that something that you're expecting in short term or in the medium term?
I'll let Victoire respond for the agency and speak about the prosecutors.
I don't think it's linked to the period. I don't think it's linked to the COVID situation, but rather linked to the fact that the French agency is brand new. I mean, it was created in 2017 with the Loi Sapin 2, and therefore it's going to be launching and enforcing increasingly, obviously, because they're brand new. But I wouldn't say it's linked to the current situation.
That's really interesting.
As far as the prosecutors are concerned, and when it comes to corruption issues, we have the financial prosecutor, the national financial prosecutor, who is in charge of corruption issues. My feeling is that the crisis has somewhat disorganized them. And although it's allowed them to work on their cases, I think it's going to take, there are not many in the department, and it's going to take them a while to go back to normal practice. So I think that apart from the very spectacular media-governed cases, we are going to see somewhat of a lack of prosecution for a while.
That's very, very interesting. So what I'm getting from what you're saying is that while the prosecutors or the enforcers are saying that they're going to go ahead and then do the enforcement, what it basically means is that they're going to go ahead in the large media-driven cases where there is a lot of impact, and smaller cases it will take time to evolve because they are also settling in the side effects of COVID impact per se. Is that what you're saying?
I think that's right, and I think that smaller companies, smaller businesses will be left to the agency basically, and for them to check on their compliance programs. I think we're going to see a shift and a division of tasks between the prosecutors and the regulators, the agency being a regulator.
I understand. To just extend this conversation, how do you see a lot of these factors like remote working or lockdown or relaxation thereof or healthcare focus contributing to corruption risks in this particular context? Has it added, has it significantly changed, impacted the way the corruption is perceived currently?
I wouldn't say that the lockdown situation has increased or has impacted the corruption risk. The risk is not linked to the fact that people are working from home, or at least that's not a greater risk. The risk is linked to the fact that the situation was unprecedented. Everything had to be done in such an emergency state that's what gives grounds for corruption. But it's not the fact that people were working from home, I would say, or the fact that it was a lockdown generally.
I can understand that. I can understand that. To just extend that conversation further, now in this current scenario where the circumstances are challenging and we're seeing a number of changes that are happening, whether it is stimulus packages, government enforcement, or the kind of risks that are coming along, what are the 2 or 3 points that you would recommend to a compliance officer who is either operating in France or who has oversight responsibility of France?
I think I'm going to mention one thing. I think that the fact that people are working remotely makes the training a little more difficult, right? And you can, of course, you can do remote training, but I think that doesn't replace exactly the kind of informal setting and brainstorming that you can get together in physical presence. So I think that training is going to be a crucial point in the coming months, because I think that time has been lost on that front.
Fantastic. Any other thoughts from your side, Victor?
Best practices should be very well implemented, respected, and controlled. Companies and compliance officers need to know who their clients are, who their suppliers are, who their partners are, included in time of such situation where everything had to be done fairly quickly. This is something that needs to be highly respected and highly controlled.
Absolutely. So I think it's really insightful to learn about the events that are happening in France and how organization needs to perceive the changes that are happening. And thanks a lot for the insights that both of you have shared, specifically the tips for the compliance officers on sticking to the best practices and focusing on training. I hope the listeners are going to get enriched insights from these conversations. Thanks a lot for contributing to this whole process. I look forward to connecting with you soon again.
Our